Alright, here we go. Alpha Geek here. Video number 2 of DE Mirage. I've gone over the call-out spots for this map. Now I'm going to do some setups for T-side and CT side. T-side on this map, as I said, you need to be very aggressive and very decisive and work together because it's a large map. It's not so much what you do if it's the right thing or the wrong thing, you just need to do it together. So first thing I want to say is that this spot palace here is a really pivotal spot on this map. Okay, so just a little bit of gameplay here before I do the setups. If the CTs peek or push this spot right here, oh, what a cool server. I have to add this to my favorites. I like the impacts. Anyway, so if they peek or push this spot, then you should be able to, pick them off, hopefully, if they push, definitely. And if they peek it, and they see you, they're going to get a lot of information here. So, basically, it's a strategic move on CT side. Really, you should just always hold this spot. You should really never peek it. Because if you peek it CT side, the T's can just pick you off, and then they have a lot of control over the A side. So when you decide to peek this CT side, it's going to be a strategic thing. Usually I like to bounce a flash here, and then first, just get a good peek in there, and then, if there's a lot of calls going on the map somewhere else, and there's no activity lower, and your guy's pushing lower, your guy's pushing palace with you. If you're going to push, it's better to have your teammates pushing with you, because if you do get contact, you can eliminate the threats. So, basically, there's a gun battle happening in various places on the map, and this one is a real tricky one because there's places that the T's can hide. So the CT can peek and not see them, and it's kind of like a peekaboo kind of thing happening over here. But if the CT is able to push and flash in and see that this area is clear here, again, they're gaining a huge amount of information, because then they know that if you're going to come A, that you're going to do a mid push to A. Basically, they can set up their rotation and have time to rotate. So I recommend always having someone in the palace, pretty much. Whether you're going to peek and try to pick them if they peek, or if you're going to hide back and just wait and see if they push. So just, no matter what, if they push, they're going to get some resistance. I'm not saying you want to camp in here the entire round. If your T's are coming out lower ramp, you're gonna want to come over and help them flash out, or whatever. You can make it over here. You can flash out from here. I wouldn't recommend trying to throw smokes from here. That's not good. But basically, the idea with that would be that either they're lurking out lower and you guys are rushing out palace, or you're lurking palace and they're rushing out lower. Now, if this guy, CT, does not push up and peek this area, this makes it a good place to lurk. Alright, so he's focused on trying to help these guys hold off the guys when they're rushing out lower, and then you can toss a flash in there, or bounce a flash off there, and just come on out. And obviously your teammates have just thrown your proper smokes for over there for an A execute. But now that I just talked a little bit about the pivotal palace spot, I can't stress enough, like every time, like people just forget it. They just drop it. They just go like 4 lower A and 2 mid, or 1 mid and 3 lower, and nobody comes palace. And what you don't understand is that a good CT side player, alright, they're going to know if you didn't come up there, and they're going to put both their A players in the palace, and then you can come out A, and then they're just going to come out right behind you and just kill you while you're playing the bomb or whatever. Like, you have upper ground there, There's just so many things about it. It's a chokehold spot, but it's also because it's a large map. You know, the information that you get from there can really dictate what else is going on in a lot of the places on the map. Okay, so let me just look at my notes here, and we're gonna go terrorist. Okay, so the first default is one palace, one lower, one mid, one hall to underpass, and one hall to be holding. Okay, so the mid guy posts up mid, semi-passive, not going peeking crazy on window, and then the mid connector underpass guy kind of works his way under the window, and then the mid guy, top mid, and the guy under window work together to try to pick that guy mid. Maybe they smoke him off and then try to pick the guy cat, or the guy underpass sets up and waits for the guy mid connector to push. Either way, Palace is holding passive, lower A is holding passive, B hall is holding passive, while mid and underpass are working to get that pick mid. Once they get the pick mid, you can use the other information that people are calling to regroup and take a site. Regroup, execute smokes, and then take a site. I just want to emphasize that. Smokes, 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 smokes. Especially T-side is all about smokes. And now the next level gaming, you gotta include mollies in there too. You see like, for example, like on D cache and the way it can severely change the gameplay. Okay, so that is a basic setup for terrorist side. That's a kind of spread out, and you're holding mid for a pick, and then you regroup and take a site. Mid control is very important on every map, but on a big map with large spots to rotate from, so you have places where you could be way pushed up in Palace or way pushed up in the apartments. Then when you have large spaces to cover, smokes and executing smokes is really important. Controlling mid is really important, because when you're going to have to rotate from the B hall or from the Palace as a CT or well, especially as a CT, yeah, either way, you're gonna have to be coming through mid. So you want to have good mid control. If people are too aggressive mid CT, you can get that pick. Smoke, 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 smoke. Everybody, if you're playing as a team, should know pretty much all of the smokes. Like the one mid window from T-spawn is a little bit beyond, and you just have to have the time to practice it. But all right, next strat setup would be, or a default, one Palace, two lower, one mid passive, and one B hall holding. So he's also pretty passive. So with this, you have one Palace, two lower that are working together to try to get a pick in the A site. And usually if you have two lower, they're going to want to kind of push out a little bit more force, and you have the guy Palace just holding to make sure that if the CTs push up into the Palace to try to you get cover in there, that they just get shut down. So the setup is one Palace pretty much holding passive, one mid holding passive, just to make sure nobody pushes mid and comes and flanks T-spawn. And then the B guy holding passive to make sure, again, they don't push down the B hall and try to get under, even if they get underpass, that's fine. They can, you got the mid guy holding passive, you got the B hall guy, he could even be watching from here, it doesn't matter. Okay, as long as they can't flank, you got these two guys lower who are gonna try to get out A and get the pick, and the guy Palace holding. These guys lower are going to be using their smokes and their flashes to execute. They may be using the Palace guy to flash out for them. But again, the guy Palace wants to be a little bit more lurky. Another thing about the Palace I want to point out, and this is just such a rookie thing that I think maybe it's just such a simple thing that a lot of people overlook it, but if you call at A rush and people run as fast as they can, from T-spawn out into the A site, okay? These guys lower, get up here, and are peeking the enemy like a whole 9 seconds before these guys palace, or even anywhere near the little tiny doorway that they have to get out. So, just a straight YOLO A, okay, is either you're rushing out palace with your numbers because it takes longer to do that, and then your guy lower is lurking, alright? Or your guys lower, if you have 2 lower, 3 palace, or whatever, you know, the strategy is at this time, you just want to take into consideration that this guy palace is going to be peeking out here at whatever time that it takes him to get here is going to be a hell of a lot slower than your guys down here, okay? So it's just really, it's a sad thing when everybody buys their guns and they gun up and they run out here, and then all these guys are dead, and there's bodies and fire and smokes, and these guys palace are like, you know, oh shit, I can't even make it out of this chokehold, I'm like smoked off here or whatever, and then, you know, these guys are like, you baited us, you know. So it's like, no, the strat's flawed if people don't point out that, you know, either what I like to do is I like to just say walk, right, and take your time, just work it together. So, you know, because you don't want to have people running through the palace because they can just hear that. So if you're gonna have them running palace, then you just stay quiet and passive on lower ramp, if that makes sense. So I think you guys are getting like an overall theme here. You know, when you're splitting a site, one side has the numbers and the smokes and the flashes and all the jazz, and the other side, like the other chokehold, has the lurky with the flashes and the taking the time to hold and push, and then also push up, get a crossfire, and be able to fall back. So I recommend working lower, slower. That rhymes. And then, so, you know, you can always, you don't have to do the fancy smokes and stuff too. You can always toss smokes over there. You can toss flashes over there if you know they already made it to there. And there's a lot of different angles they can peek, like there and from this wall here. And so you want to just take your time. And then once you kind of gotten out around this area and you have this, that's when you want your palace guy to come out, flash under the balcony for you, always, because this guy here is going to have to deal with all this madness. You don't want to have to turn your back to it to clear this. So those are things that, you know, people should quickly figure out during the match. Oh, this is a cool server. Look, my bots are just chilling. They're not even making noise. Alright. So the thing with these setups is that you can always work them in different directions, and that's really important. So that, like, I have this guy mid, holding mid passive, so this guy can't flank, and you're holding B passive, so nobody can flank. So, you know, if those guys lower A get a trade, and then both of them die, the guy palace can fall back here, regroup with both the mid guy and, you know, and then you can do something, all three of you together. You don't have people coming up and shooting you from behind. So just gonna throw this out here. Another strategy is 1 mid, 1 halls to underpass, and then 3 halls walking on contact. So this would be kind of like an aggressive, semi-aggressive play for mid, I believe. I mean, if you're doing this, we'll probably want to try to, if you had a good spawn, you'd be the mid guy to try to come up and get this pick here. And then you have one just maybe running hall to underpass, or walking hall to underpass. So you basically have 1 bottom mid watching mid connector, 1 top mid watching window, and this is basically holding off the rotation from this side from CT. I mean, you can, and then you have the other 3 guys walking through the halls here. So this strategy, you have nobody watching A flank. So you could, have your top mid be kind of aware, or maybe hear them if they're running through. But if you have 3 guys kind of walk, you can run up to kind of like this spot, and then you guys are walking here, and you get around this point, they're gonna start throwing nades and mollies and smokes. You want to wait those off, so you want to stay back and just wait for them to push in the hall, while your mid guys are working their smokes and flashes and getting a good crossfire, maybe potentially getting a pick, and then that would be when you guys would maybe execute here. Or I would just keep walking until you get contact. So one of the tips that I've tweeted out in the world is it sounds so nerdy too when you say it too. So to play the game like it's real life. You guys know people who play like airsoft, and obviously people who are into shooting real guns, or people who are in the military. So the basic training for this kind of situation is that one person posts up while the other people move forward, and when you say stagger, you're moving when the other people are moving forward, they stagger forward, so it's not like you're running in a straight line. So here's my team, 4 guys, and they're gonna run down this connector right here. So I post up, and I'm posted. I'm not moving, so I have the the advantage if they push with my aim. And then the other players, instead, obviously if they're trying to work it down a hall or something like that, instead of just running forward, basically one person kind of stands close to the person that's posted up, and they kind of like take over posting up, and then the next person kind of comes in front of them and kind of posts up, and then the next person kind of comes in front of them and posts up different angles. So I mean, this is here I'm moving really slow like this, but it's sort of like, you could think of it like a little bit like a game of leapfrog, but you don't really need everybody posting up. So it's sort of like one guy posts up, and then the other guys kind of run in a little bit, and then one more guy posts up, and then the other guys keep running in, and then the guy, and then when this guy doesn't need to be posted up anymore, like I'm not just gonna keep standing here after you guys run around the corner. So then I start moving forward, and then one of the guys in the front, when they make it here, they post up, maybe this angle, and then other people run out, post up this angle, and then other people will run up. I mean, it's a continue. This is how in real life retakes happen, and with smokes and flashes and stuff like that, and coordinating the smokes and flashes. So you don't just toss a flash. You say, I'm throwing a flash at this time maybe, or just say flashing now. Or you may even just wait to call, hey, toss the flash, and then say, go, 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 because I like to do that. There's, still a little bit of delay. Alright, let's get through these strategies. Another setup here, I have 2 halls to B, 3 mid to cat. So this is a B split. 2 go halls lurking. So slow working, so what I just described, they'd be waiting out the smokes, the nades, the molotovs, and then 3 go mid to cat. If they're a decoy A, I'm going to smoke mid connector and mid window and just rush cat while the halls lurk out. So I'm gonna just show you. I don't know if it'll let me buy anything. Oh, buy expired. I have some good smokes for here. So you don't even have to peek the mid connector to smoke the mid connector. You can just bank it like somewhere around there. I just saw like a tips from Stewie2K about when I was looking for the smokes for this map. The CTs can just like look over the smoke mid. So maybe that might be just like a waste of smoke unless you can figure out how to get it on that ledge there. But either way, so the 2 are lurking halls. giving these guys mid just a tiny bit of time. You really want to just double smoke that if you can. And then if you can throw the smoke window from T-spawn, that'd be ideal. And then come up here, toss your smokes here, run, nade the window. I like to do that when I'm running up here. And just run up the cat. Like, I think that, you know, there are not going to be multiple people hanging out here. There's never really anybody hanging out in here, because that just isn't a very good spot to play. This is a very aggressive spot, CT, to play from cat. So if you're playing here, CT, just kill him. Or you got 3 guys. Okay, nobody's lurking around back here. 3 guys, run up the cat. Okay, all 3 of you, run up the cat and get to here. And then all of a sudden, you got two guys in here, maybe even just 1 if you killed the cat guy, who are like having to fight 3 guys running up the cat. And right when they realize that they're having contact and fire with you guys coming up cat, then the 2 guys halls, that's when they just magically appear. So if you're ever playing against a professional team, if you ever get to be so lucky to get spanked, you're going to notice that everywhere that you go, every site that you go, they always have like 3 in sight. And it's like, you only have 5 players, so how is that possible? There's 2 sites, you need 3 people in the site, that's 6 players and nobody mid. So if you want to be a professional Counter-Strike player, you have to learn really how to like do the mobility thing and be able to move around. So like I was just talking about, you know, running up cat, like I actually have a smoke that I throw for connector that lands here, which is fucking boss. And then I just like nade the window there, and he can't do anything when he's getting naded, even if he has an op. So I just run up here. You can flash over this if you think he's pushed up here, but that takes a little time. But basically, I can be up here in the bomb site planning, in like before people are even out of T-spawn. So yeah, you gotta be able to move around fast, and if you want to always appear like you have 3 people in the site on the CT side, you gotta use crazy communication. So that's a quick B split. I'm gonna just point out that when I've been watching the gameplay on this map, that the catwalk is highly underutilized. So like I said earlier about the B halls being very difficult, it always was a very difficult chokehold to get out. And maintaining that gameplay, it makes it so that you have to do stuff on the cat. So you don't be afraid to run up the cat with numbers. You can do a 5-man cat rush. You can do 4 up cat with 1 lurking in the hall, or 3. And then that way you have 2 guys in the hall, kind of safe. Maybe if 1 had jumped down window, because that would be actually a viable solution to countering what I just said. So if, you know, we smoked off the window and they're smoked off mid and then we're running up cat, it's pretty likely, if I was the guy window, that I would just jump down and drop down to underpass and then, you know, try to flank, because you know they're running up B, they're not going in mid connector to A. You don't know what's going on in Palace, but well, if your guy had pushed Palace and told you it's clear, well, you know they're here, so this would be a very good play to make. I'd be careful about it, and I'd communicate what I'm doing with my team so that they could know too. But anyway, I want to utilize the cat. If you have good mid control, good smokes, you can always regroup, fall back, and rotate. So. Let's see how many more strats I have here. T-side, obviously there's the yellow B, or YOLO B, 5-man rush B site. I just talked about 1 posting up, 1 staggering, so you know they're gonna nade, they're gonna smoke, they're gonna flash. You gotta get up here before that happens. This one guy who, if you stop to post up here, you're probably gonna get naded. It's just the way it is. So this guy what I might do, if it's actually a rush, like all 5 rush, instead of posting up here, is I would just, if I'm the guy in the front, is pull out a flash and just flash right over that wall right there. Okay. So if you're CT and you're trying to get up around here, you're peeking around this angle, and that flash goes off, you're probably going to reposition because you're totally blind, and then basically everybody just pushes out. And then that one person who was in the front, who threw the flash, should end up in the back pretty much, and they should always watch the flank. You should always watch the flank halls. And you want to always keep someone up in the halls, because having higher ground gives you advantage. If you didn't already know that, it's the same in real life. The hitboxes, all of it, like, it's definitely having a higher ground gives you an advantage. So you're here, you throw the flash, you push up with your team, boom, 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 and then you turn around and you watch the flank, because that guy is going to be dropping a window on your ass, remember? Okay. So, flash the van. There's the window smoke, so basically you stand in this here, and you aim, I believe it's like around like right here, and I think it's a jumping, where you're aiming here, you jump and let go of the smoke, I believe. I don't know, I don't know it perfectly. It's like the very different variations of the map, but I believe if you jump and throw that, if I could buy a smoke, well, next round I'll buy a smoke, try it. I'm running out of time. Okay. This is one of my favorite setups. Mid is passive. B hall is holding passive. You have 2 lower A ramp and 1 palace. If palace peaks, if the CT peaks and the terrorist gets the pick, the 2 lower execute their smokes and flashes and take the site. Alright, if that happens, the B hall guy drops to underpass, just drops his B hall hold, and he drops to underpass, and then he before you know, around the time that they're executing their smokes and flashes on the A site, if the CT does not peek palace, the guys lower are holding. Then the B guy hold drops his hold on the B hall to underpass. Okay, and him and the guy top mid work toward mid connector to A. And then at that point in time, basically you want to have the B hall guy coordinate at that point where he is under the window, and he's picking with the guy mid, and then the lower A guys execute their smokes and flashes, and then you take the A site. If the palace guy makes the pick, then basically he makes the call for the lower guys to execute their smokes and flashes, and then the B hall guy knows to just drop when he hears that. So I'm going to just restate this setup again. Mid passive, B hall holds, 2 lower A, 1 palace. If the CT peeks or pushes palace and the terrorist gets a pick, he makes the call to execute smokes and flashes from lower. The B hall guy drops to underpass and works with mid to mid connector to take A. If the palace CT does not peek and they do not get the pick, all the A guys are just holding, while the B hall guy drops underpass, works with mid to try to get a pick, and then he calls the execution of smokes and flashes from the guys lower and palace. So you can do a lot of different variations with that, but really that is, if you have a very strong team, I believe probably one of the best defaults. just because you have your guys spread out and you have a lot of different things that you can do. I mean, if he gets that pick palace, like I said, everybody can just drop and you can just run up cat and go to B. And I mean, you know, it's like there's so many, like you can regroup and change your strategy once you have kind of map control, so to speak. So if you have skilled players who are communicating and cohesive players, then you can spread out and you don't have to worry about, you know, your teammates callings like, hey, they're pushing this or that. You know, my two guys low are they're gonna handle that. I don't have to worry about it. And hopefully that's helpful. I'm gonna go ahead and wait and do another video for the CT side. It took me a while, like, you know, writing down all this stuff, and I'm sure I had us all written down like a, you know, it used to be like a whole book. Hopefully I've simplified it a little bit for you and just giving you some language to talk to your team and work on communication and building teamwork together. So it's a big map. It can be very frustrating as a team because, like I said, you need to be decisive. You need to be confident, and the only way you're going to build confidence is by either winning a lot or losing a lot and then coming back from that. So just stick with it. Really learn those smokes and try some of those strategies mid. Don't rush it, but be really decisive about what you're doing. Terrorist side, be really aggressive. Don't let the CTs push up, and don't let them push Palace, because they're going to do that. Then it should be your round, 100% every time. And that's going to be all for this video. Alpha Geek, please like, subscribe, and share the link, because the CSGO agenda is just trying to bring knowledge to the masses and help you guys work out some better gameplay for CSGO and more challenging gameplay. Alright, thank you. And look for that next video, CT side setups.